Hello, my name is Renate.
And I'm Sindre.
And welcome to Geekare Humanum.
Just a little disclaimer before we start the episode. We talked so much about video games in this episode that we didn't have time to talk about the 1920s Metropolis movie. So if you're not interested in video games at all, you can probably skip this episode because that's everything we talk about in this episode. And we're going to talk about Metropolis in the next episode instead.
Yeah. So should we maybe talk about your early gaming experiences?
Yeah, let's. One of my earliest gaming experiences was Super Mario.
It was?
Yeah, it was in first grade. The school had a service for the parents where they would watch the kids after classes.
Oh, where you hung out, did homework and played with the other kids?
Yeah, it's just an area where they would watch the kids for the parents that were not yet home from work. So there were some adults there to watch over the kids. One of those adults that did that service brought in their own Nintendo console. I don't remember if it was an NES or a Super Nintendo. But yeah, anyway, they had Super Mario on it.
It's a good way to make children sit down and shut up.
Yeah, that's true. I also had a neighbor around the same time that had the first PlayStation. Or I think her older brother had the first PlayStation. But yeah, we would play a lot of Crash Bandicoot. The first Crash Bandicoot game, and I think also maybe the second. And we would also play some of the Disney movie games. The games that were adapted from recent Disney movies.
Like what?
Oh, there was a Lion King game that was kind of fun.
Oh.
And then there was the Hercules video game. And I'm not quite sure, but I think actually the Disney Hercules may be possibly my first cinema experience. Probably not the first movie I watched, but the first I watched in the cinema. I'm pretty sure about that. I'm not completely sure.
Yeah, you're a big Disney fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I love Disney movies, but
I call you my Disney princess.
That's true. That's true, because you're not that big of a Disney fan.
No, not unconditionally, at least.
Well, I'm not unconditionally a Disney fan either. There's bad Disney movies. But I think you didn't really like them when you were younger, and
No, that's not true. I always wanted to see Disney movies at the cinema, but when we were really young, we always went with our mother, and she didn't want to watch cartoons, so she was always trying to make us watch live action movies. So she would always object if I wanted to see like The Little Mermaid or Beauty and the Beast. Yeah. She was like, no, not cartoons. They're so boring.
So that probably caused you to not be as big of a Disney fan later in life.
Yeah, but I like a lot of Disney stuff, and I grew up reading Donald Duck, so I'm not like anti-Disney.
Yeah, for people listening, in Norway and in some countries, Donald Duck is the really big Disney character. He's bigger than Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, I was more of a Donald Duck fan than a Mickey Mouse fan. I read some Mickey Mouse.
But Mickey Mouse is boring because he is the
goody two-shoes. Yeah. While Donald Duck is angry and mischievous and...
Yeah, he's fun, while Mickey Mouse is the logo of Disney, so he cannot be anything else than perfect.
You remember that Steamboat Willie thing?
Oh, yeah, well...
That was so funny. I laughed out loudly.
Yeah, he apparently early in Mickey's career, he was not as perfect as he is now. He was like punching dogs or cats.
Maybe you should try to put it in the show notes if people haven't seen the whole thing.
Yeah,
if it's available.
I'll put Steamboat Willie in the show notes, and you can see for yourself how crazy it is.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, but I think we're going to have to steer back on topic. I think we can come back once again in a different episode and talk about Disney movies.
Okay, so back to your early gaming experiences. You were talking about Disney games, Hercules.
Yeah, Hercules was also a very fun side-scroller.
Are these games considered classics today? Because I haven't heard about them.
Not like video game all-time classics, but I think a lot of people have nostalgia for them.
Okay.
But the game out of those that I mentioned that I have really a lot of nostalgia for, it's Crash Bandicoot. And I was really happy when they released an HD re-release of the 3 first Crash Bandicoot games a few years ago for the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, I don't think I had heard about them when you brought them to our home. And you tried playing with me, but I didn't really get that into it.
Yeah, it's like a 3D platforming experience. And I heard some people that know a lot about video games talk about how 3D platformers really don't work as well as 2D platformers. And
Really? I thought it was just me.
No, I think a lot of people have problems with traversing a platforming space in 3D.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, because I don't really like those games.
Yeah, I think the reason that I like them is that
You grew up with them.
I was exposed at a really early age, and that is kind of the same as I was talking about with you and Donkey Kong Country, where it's really hard and you just get used to it when you're a kid. You don't care. You just try and try again until you can do it with your eyes closed.
Maybe. I don't know if that's considered a difficult game, really. But anyway, so you had a PlayStation 1. That was your first console?
Oh, no, that wasn't my console. That was the neighbor.
Okay, yeah.
So at that point, I didn't have a console myself, even.
Oh, you poor child.
Yeah. I think the first video game that I had myself, or at least that one of my parents had, is my mother had a laptop that she used for her work. And she had probably bought it for me, but I just remember that she had it. So I think for the longest time, I thought she had it for herself. I think she had bought the Moomin game.
Sorry, I can just picture Mom playing the Moomin game.
For those that don't know, Moomin Valley, or the Moomins, is a franchise from Finland. How would you describe the Moomins?
Well, they're called Moomin trolls in Norwegian. So I don't know, are they trolls?
Not really in the sense that I recognize trolls, but there's like creatures, and it's a kids show, and it's
cute, chubby creatures living in the forest.
Yeah, when I was a kid, there was a cartoon that was a cooperation between Finland and I think Japan, so it was a kind of anime style.
Oh, I watched that as well.
Yeah, and I didn't realize until much later that it was Japanese animation, but I later seen other animes, and the style is kind of similar in a lot of ways. But we'll leave a link in the show notes for a clip from that old cartoon, so you can see for yourself. And there was a video game based on that, and it was really, really kiddie. And
that was like a learning game?
Yeah, maybe. I don't think there was like a lot of math or language skills or stuff like that. I think it was mostly just for fun.
Okay.
But it was for really young kids. I think the game was called The Great Party in Moomin Valley or something, and you had to organize a party. A lot of simple mini games that I found difficult when I was a kid that probably I wouldn't find that difficult nowadays. But yeah, then later I got a Game Boy Classic from my dad. I think maybe it was his old one.
Oh, so he had one himself?
I think so. I was really young at that point, so I don't really remember if I'm remembering it correctly.
But your father is still a gamer, right?
Yeah, he plays a lot of shooters and stuff.
First-person shooters?
Yeah, he's into guns and was in the Norwegian military. So he likes those kind of things.
That's pretty unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there are some older gamers. You know that grandma who is really into Skyrim?
Yeah.
I can't remember her name now, but maybe I'll put a link in the show notes for a documentary about her. But she seemed really cool, and she was like really into Skyrim and really, well, much older than my dad.
Yeah, but it's a bit unusual. That's what makes it so cool.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, the Game Boy I got from him included a cartridge with a lot of old games together in the cartridge. The cartridge was extra long, so it popped out at the end of it. So
was that like a bootleg thing?
No, I don't think so. Could have been, but it looked, at least for me when I was a kid, it looked like any of the other cartridges, just that it was bigger to include more disk space. Or cartridge space, I suppose. But yeah, the first Game Boy was sort of like a gateway into the portable console that I really like, which is the Game Boy Color.
God bless you.
My favorite game for the Game Boy Color was Pokemon Blue, the first Pokemon game.
I bet that wasn't like Pokemon Go.
Yeah, because that's your main exposure to the Pokemon franchise, right?
Yeah, like everybody else.
Yeah, except that Detective Pikachu movie that we saw.
Yeah.
You've been exposed to the story part of that franchise through Detective Pikachu, but otherwise you haven't really.
No, when Pokemon first was released, I was too old. It was kiddie stuff.
Yeah, you're just 6 years older than me, but when you're a kid, that's a lot. That's a lot. It's not that much at our age, but when you're a kid, that's a big difference.
Sure.
But yeah, Pokemon Blue and Red, those are exactly the same games, only that they include slightly different Pokemon. Mostly the same, but there's some that are only in blue and some that are only in red.
That seems a bit sneaky.
Yeah, that's very sneaky, because then you would have to
buy them both.
Yeah, buy them both, or have a friend that bought the other version, and you had to buy a wire to connect two Game Boys. So that
transfer.
Yeah, then you could trade Pokemons.
Oh.
So it was sneaky, but it was also really cool when you were a kid that you could trade Pokemons.
Yeah.
Kind of like trading cards, you know.
But today it will be much simpler. They would just release them as downloads, I guess, that you maybe had to pay for.
I think they actually are still doing that. They're still releasing 2 versions of Pokemon games, and then you have to trade with people that have the other version.
Well,
yeah, it's just...
if you make money, then... Or if it's not broken, then don't fix it.
Yeah, they're not going to fix it because they're making more money that way.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and people are so used to it, so they don't complain. But yeah, I haven't been playing any new Pokemon games in a while, so I could be wrong about that. I think I mostly played the 3 first generations of Pokemon games.
All on Game Boy?
I think they were...
Game Boy Color?
Yeah, they were all on Game Boy Color. I haven't bought any portable Nintendo devices since then, besides the Switch, which we don't use as a portable device at all.
And I bought it for you, me.
Yeah, that was your Christmas present to me the same year that I bought you a Super Nintendo Mini.
Yeah, but didn't you have like a Nintendo Advance thing? No, 3DS?
Alright, I bought that a couple of years ago. But yeah, that's us after we got together.
That's why I remember it.
So
It's strange that you don't remember it.
Well, I was so focused on the topic of this episode, which is games we played before we got together.
Okay, yeah, never mind.
But yeah, Pokemon Blue works quite differently than Pokemon Go, of course, because it's not on a smartphone and you couldn't do the same thing on a Game Boy. But the way it works in the more traditional Pokemon games is that you control a little pixelated character on a grid map that you see from above. So you move in squares, sort of.
You mean like Zelda?
Yeah, it's pretty much like Zelda in many ways.
The old kind of Zelda, of course.
Yeah, not in what you can do. You can't go around and swing a sword or something, but in the way it moves. You move in squares, like in Zelda. Then you move from town to town, and in between the town there are wilderness areas where there are wild Pokemon, just like animals in real life. And you can go out and you can catch those Pokemon by battling them in a turn-based battle system, where you are ordering your own Pokemon to make specific attacks to get the health of the wild Pokemons to go down enough so that they are weak enough for you to be able to catch them with a Pokeball, which is where you store your Pokemon.
Okay, but that is a bit like Pokemon Go, isn't it? You know, where you have to go to certain places that are occupied by other players who are in control of that area.
Yeah, there are specific areas in Pokemon Go where you can put out your own Pokemon to guard that area.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
And to take over another person's area, you have to battle their Pokemon that they have put out. But that battle system in that is really simplified. It's not even that fun, kind of. It's just, you have to have a Pokemon of a specific level, and it's just, the battle is almost automatic. At least how it was when Pokemon Go first came out. I don't know how much they have changed it since then. We haven't played it since it first came out.
You're not one of those still playing?
No.
I've seen a few middle-aged women on the street, you know, before the close down and everything, who were like still playing.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people that
maybe not young people. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure it's people that don't really have another outlet for gaming, and that's how they got introduced to it. Like, I have so many games that I want to play because I am plugged into that scene and I know about new releases coming out and all the time. So I'm not content playing just the same game over and over and over. I'm interested in the new stuff coming out. But people that are not paying attention to what is coming out, yeah, they probably are just still playing something they liked when it first came out, and that's okay.
Yeah, I remember I tried out that Harry Potter game that was kind of like Pokemon Go.
Yeah, it was the Harry Potter knockoff of Pokemon Go, yeah.
Yeah, but I thought it was boring. I got tired of it pretty quickly, and no one else was playing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's part of it, that not everybody was walking around and talking about it all the time.
Yeah, I was a bit late with Pokemon Go, and I actually didn't have it on my cell phone. I borrowed your cell phone.
Yeah, we just like cooperated, sort of.
So this time I was like, yeah, this time I'm gonna be there from the beginning and get into it. But yeah, it was boring. And
maybe you should go back and play the original Pokemon games at some point, or at least some new releases that have the classic gameplay and not the Pokemon Go type gameplay.
We'll see. So much to do, so little time.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe we can play with our little daughter here when she's older.
Yeah, and
you probably want to introduce her to Pokemon.
Yeah, I think I do. It's that could be fun. Pokemon is a franchise that kids really enjoy a lot because they are cute animals and cool monsters and everything like that. So it has something for everyone. So I bet she would like it. But yeah, with the old games, the battle system in that is much better. And you would walk around the world in that, and when you have captured enough Pokemon, you would battle other Pokemon trainers in the world. Mm-hmm. Sorry about all the hiccups, by the way. It's our daughter who's laying here with her hiccups, and I think it's just cute, but if you find it annoying, then I apologize. Yeah, so you travel from area to area, battle other Pokemon trainers, Pokemon. All of these trainers are controlled by the computer. But you could also connect up with other players with the same wire that you could use to trade Pokemon. And you could battle the other players that way.
Yeah, naturally. It would have been a waste if that wasn't possible.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool. Yeah, so I used to play Pokemon a lot. Like, I played it all day and had it with me to school and played it in the breaks between classes, and I played it on planes and on holidays, and just like carried around that Game Boy Color with me everywhere.
All day, every damn day.
Yep. And God, I had so much fun with it. There was one time I told you about when I was playing Pokemon so much that I was reported missing to the police.
Yeah, do you want to tell the story to our listeners?
Yeah, so my parents got divorced when I was really young.
Because of Pokemon?
No. And me and my younger sister used to have every other weekend with my dad, and I think every Wednesday. So he would usually pick us up every Wednesday after school. Well, one Wednesday, my mother had actually plans for a dinner party that we were invited to. and had scheduled with my father to postpone our meeting with him to another day. But I had maybe not paid attention when she told me, or just probably forgot it, I think. And so I waited outside of school and played Pokemon while I was waiting and had a lot of fun. And I had so much fun that I didn't realize how quick time was going. I didn't see how dark it was getting because I was having so much fun with Pokemon.
Yeah, you were waiting for your father and he never showed up, but you didn't pay attention to time.
Yeah, and suddenly he shows up in his car and is like really late, and he's kind of angry at me because I've been driving around the whole city searching for you and the police is searching for you. And I was just sitting there playing Pokemon. So I kind of freaked out and started crying.
Yeah, because you were supposed to walk home on your own, and you didn't do that?
Yeah, I was supposed to walk home to my mother's house so that we could drive to that dinner that we had been invited to. And normally my dad would have shown up at the place I was waiting, like hours earlier. And none of my parents thought that maybe I had forgotten that he wasn't going to pick me up or something.
Yeah. They thought you were kidnapped, maybe.
Yeah, so that's kind of just my story about how I was reported missing because of Pokemon. Another game I had for the Game Boy Color was Harvest Moon. I'm sure a lot of people that are listening are not aware of Harvest Moon at this point.
I haven't heard about it, I think.
But I think a lot of you have heard about Stardew Valley, which is a spiritual successor to Harvest Moon. So Harvest Moon was pretty much like an early version of Stardew Valley. Much more simpler, I'm sure. I haven't tried Stardew Valley yet, but it looks pretty much like the same type of game.
Stardew Valley looked kind of fun, I think.
Yeah, and it has a multiplayer function now, so maybe we could play that together too. Me, you, and our little baby.
Yeah, but she's grown a little.
Yeah, a little at least. Maybe just a feet. A foot.
Maybe just her feet.
Yeah, when she has big enough feet to use the controller. Yeah, but with Harvest Moon, I never worked out why, but I couldn't save. Like every time I restarted the game, I would start with the new farm again. And I would use the save function, but it never worked. I could never get my old farm back. So it was a period where I tried to play the entire game without switching off my Game Boy Color. And like had it on for several days and tried to just have it plugged in. And at some point it turned off anyway. I can't remember why. Maybe it just freaked out from being turned on so long. But yeah, I never got to play Harvest Moon properly. I got to play the start of it like so many times. And it was kind of annoying.
Yeah, a very annoying glitch, I'd say.
But yeah, that's the main Game Boy Color games that I remember. I also had like a Looney Tunes game that I played a bunch, but I don't really remember it that much. But a little later than when I first got my Game Boy Color, I got my first stationary console, the Nintendo 64. And I also got my first TV for my room, like the same Christmas. So it was like an old, like boxy TV. It wasn't very good by today's standards, but back then I loved it. But yeah, Nintendo 64 is when I got really into playing video games. Playing video games. I had a lot of fun games for that console.
I don't think I've ever tried Nintendo 64.
No, we tried connecting my old one to our flat screen TV, but it looked like crap. It's not meant to be played on those kind of screens.
I bet you're hoping for a Nintendo 64 Mini.
Oh yeah, that would be really cool if they could do something like that. But
if they haven't already.
Yeah, but you know, the Switch has a lot of ported games to it, so it could be a lot of the games. And Nintendo, anyway, they keep just remaking their own games, like reiterating on them. It's not quite the same as the classic, exactly how they were, but they are still making new versions of a lot of the games that I had at that point. For example, Super Smash Bros.
Oh, yeah, you used to play that on 64?
Yeah, I had that. I had the first one. Ooh. And we played the newest one together, right?
Yeah, on Switch.
Yeah. And
that was a lot of fun too.
Yeah, it was very fun. And
I didn't expect it, but I really liked it.
And I used to bring my small group of friends home with me to play that all the time. We just played a lot of Super Smash Bros. Together.
So that was a 4-player?
I think so. I don't think I had that many controllers.
Okay.
So I think we had to switch a little bit.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. For those that don't know, Super Smash Bros. Is a series where you are fighting. It's not quite like Mortal Kombat and that kind of fighting game, because there are more platforming elements to it. You can jump around on the stage.
Yeah, and special attacks and...
Yeah, and weapons you can pick up, and you can interact with the levels in certain ways. Yeah, but the most fun part of Super Smash Bros. Is that all the fighters are from different Nintendo franchises, and in later games in the series, actually from just different game franchises. The game series has gotten so big that Nintendo actually has a lot of deals with other game companies for their characters to show up in the games.
Yeah, and as you play through, you unlock more and more characters. So it's kind of a surprise who you'll get the next time.
Yeah. In the first one, I think you had most of the characters already unlocked. But the first one doesn't have as many characters to control as the later games.
No.
Like, of course, every game in the series added more characters you could control. It just really ballooned how many characters you can control in that latest game. But in the earliest game, you could control Mario and Luigi, and they could throw out fireballs. And you could control Pikachu from the Pokemon series, and he could like zap electric at people. And you could control a character called Captain Falcon, who has a special move where he does a fire punch and he yells, "Falcon Punch!" And you can control Fox McCloud from the Star Fox series, who is sort of an anthropomorphic fox version of Han Solo. So he has a laser gun.
Yeah, you can play like all those characters in Super Smash Bros. And many more.
Yeah, but that early game had not as many characters, but you got to really get to know their moves. And is your favorite Kirby, maybe?
Yeah, I like playing as Kirby and also like Bowser and...
Yeah.
Pikachu was also fun.
But Kirby is really fun because you can suck your enemies into Kirby's stomach. And when you do that, you transform into a version of them.
Yeah, you just adapt their main trait.
Yeah, you steal their special ability, sort of.
Yeah.
But the way the game shows you that you have done this is to give Kirby just like a little headgear. And Kirby is like a cute little pink ball. And then you suddenly get like Mario's cap on him or something to indicate that he has turned into Mario.
Yes, it's very cute.
Yeah, so I played that a lot with my friends when I was a kid. And we also played a lot of Mario Party, which is a mini-game series that is sort of like a board game. You throw a virtual dice and you can move around the board. And at given points, you all take part in a mini-game.
Mario minigame sounds like fun. I remember we watched a review, I think, on YouTube. So I've seen a little bit.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun. And we played that a lot when I was a kid too. And since it's called Mario Party, there's all the characters you can control are characters from the Mario series.
Can you play it one player?
Yeah, I think so. And you would just play against computer-controlled characters.
Okay, but it's mainly for a bunch of friends getting together and play.
Yeah, that's the intention.
Yeah, it's a smart way of making computer games more social. Not that that's a problem today.
Yeah, Nintendo has always been interested in a social experience. Two other games I really liked for the Nintendo 64 was both Pokemon spin-offs.
Of course.
One of them was Pokemon Snap. That's...
Oh, Snap.
Oh, Snap. Which was a photo game where you would control a photographer on a tram. So you could not walk around wherever you pleased, but you were on rails. You would just see Pokemon interacting in the wild and take the perfect opportunity for a photo, and you would get points based on how well timed the photos are and if they were framed and everything like that.
Was that based on anything Pokemon, or was that just having an idea and throwing Pokemon into the mix to make it more popular?
I'm pretty sure it's the last one, but there is a photographer character in the Pokemon anime.
Okay.
So it could be something connected with him, but it is not a very well-loved character anyway, I think.
Oh, okay.
I can't even remember his name, but I remember there was a photographer in the Pokemon anime, which, by the way, I loved when I was a kid. I watched a bunch of it, dubbed in Norwegian, of course. And the other game was Pokemon Stadium.
And that was more like a stadium fight, maybe?
Yeah, so it was taking the turn-based combat of the Pokemon games and just using them, and instead of sprite art like in Pokemon Blue, they actually 3D animated a bunch of the Pokemon, and then you could battle them in a turn-based combat. And it was just that part, and it was not moving around in a world seen from above like in Zelda. It was just the battle parts.
You enjoyed that, or?
Yeah, it was really fun to see it in 3D at the time. Like, that in itself, at that point in time, was enough of a selling point. That was all it needed to just look more epic.
It didn't sound very long-lived.
There was a sequel I remember that I didn't have, that a friend of mine had, and that was also fun. I seem to remember there was also some minigames in Pokemon Stadium, and I think I actually thought that those were more fun than the actual battle parts. So yeah, that's it for Nintendo 64. Those are the games I remember the most for that one.
And then we're on to...
Thinking we can talk a little bit about some computer games that I like.
Yeah, other than Moomin.
Yeah, other than the big party in Moomin Valley or whatever it was called. Me and my mother and my sister used to visit one of my mom's friends in a different city. And we would often sleep over there for a few days in the summer. And that friend of my mom's, she had 3 sons. And they had a computer setup with a video game called Jetpack from 1993.
Oh.
So Jetpack is a 2D platformer with a lot of elements, and you obviously get to control a guy with a jetpack and you can fly around, but it has fuel and there's a lot of different kinds of enemies and stuff. But what was really fun about Jetpack is that it had an integrated level editor, which was really simple to use. I would describe it as like an early Mario Maker. It was that good of a level editor. So one of us would make a new level and let the other people try it out, and it was a lot of fun.
So it was just like point and click and place different elements? There wasn't any coding?
Yeah, there was no coding, but I don't think there was a mouse. I don't think there was a computer mouse even at that point. It was just a keyboard.
Oh.
So you had to do all of it by entering commands, but the possible commands were displayed on the screen. So it wasn't like coding, you just had to type in one of the options that was made available to you on the screen.
I guess this was before internet too, so you couldn't share your levels.
Yeah, I don't think so. I know that the guy that made it made a new version in 2017, and maybe that has a level sharing option on it.
Did he improve it, or is it just like a retro, same experience?
Yeah, I think it's like the same experience, but it's like newer graphics and more options and stuff. But I haven't played it yet.
Sounds like something you should check out.
Yeah, at one point. I have so many video games to get through before that point.
Yeah,
though.
I know.
But then later I got a PC for myself. When you were talking about the games you had played, you mentioned Worms, and that's also one of the ones that I really played a lot of when I was a kid.
One of the classics.
Yeah, but I also played a lot of Age of Empires 2. That's a strategy game where you build a society, you create workers to chop down wood or get rock and stuff like that. And then you can use those resources to build buildings. And then you can upgrade the buildings. And when you have improved your society enough and gained enough resources, you can enter into a new age. So it's like Bronze Age and Stone Age and all those ages. And when you go into a new age, you can build new stuff. And there's a battle mechanic in it. So you have to compete with other civilizations, which is doing exactly the same thing. And then you get better soldiers and stuff when you go up to new ages.
That reminds me, I also played one of those building society games, but it was called Caesar 2. So that was in Rome. You were building Roman cities.
Okay.
But I think Age of Empire, that's more of a classic, so...
Yeah, you have seen it.
I've heard the title at least. The Caesar 2 game was just... I think we just got it for free when we bought our first computer or something.
Yeah, in Caesar 2, are you controlling all the units from above?
Yes, it's from... There's like a map from above, and you're placing like forums and plazas, and you're putting out people or...
But is it like in a grid? Like there's certain places you have to place them? Or is it like an open map there where you can build stuff anywhere?
I think it was an open map.
Yeah, then it sounds a lot like Age of Empires.
I'm not really sure, but it was... I don't think it was as advanced as Age of Empire, and I wasn't very good at it. My towns always ended up burning up and stuff. And there were riots, and I wasn't good.
It sounds kind of fun, though.
Yeah, I had some good hours playing that game.
Another game that you may have a little bit of experience with is The Sims and The Sims 2.
Yeah, I always wanted to play it, but it was my brother's, so I was watching him play it.
I played a lot of The Sims and a lot of The Sims 2 when that came out later.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just fun to control a little character in The Sims. It's like a life simulation game where you control a little person and you have to make them work out and improve their lives and go to work and stuff like that. It sounds incredibly boring, but it's like, I don't really know how to sell it.
But that's still pretty big, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that still play The Sims, but I think...
Aren't there new
there's
new sim games?
There's new sim games too, but I don't think it's as big as it was back then.
I have a coworker whose son is playing it now.
Oh, maybe it's just that I am not playing it anymore.
Yeah, maybe.
I think I figured out for myself that I don't want to control a different character living his completely normal life. Then I can just live my normal life. If I'm going to play a video game, then I want to do something fantastic.
Yeah, it's like simulating your own reality when you have really more than enough to do here at home.
Yeah,
or in life in general.
Yeah, why would I make sure that the little video game version of me worked out and...
Not work out yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Not that I'm working out now, but why would I waste the time on making a fake version of me work out?
Well, it's less exhausting.
Yeah, exactly. But then you can sort of feel good about making your fake version work out, I guess. But I think I'm too plugged into reality to fool myself like that. I don't know.
Today, little Sindre took 200 push-ups.
Yay! Then I've earned myself a big chocolate bar.
Mm. And that you can eat in real life.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, The Sims, I think, came after SimCity, which I also played some of. Do you have any experience with SimCity?
Maybe. To be honest, I'm not sure if it's Sims or SimCity or whatever.
Well, SimCity, then you're building a whole city.
I'm not sure.
Well, SimCity is pretty fun, but when I was a kid, the most fun I had was when there was a disaster in the city, like a meteor was hitting or a big fire and stuff like that. I thought it was just fun to create a city and then watch it be destroyed, kind of.
Really?
Yeah, it's like smashing...
I didn't know you were that destructive.
No, it's just...
Didn't you lose the game then?
Yeah, it's the point is to try to keep everything going, but...
Yeah, like I said with Caesar. I was never happy when it started burning and I lost control.
Yeah. I think it's just that destruction mechanics in those games are pretty fun to watch, and it's like when you put up a bunch of dominoes and you push them over and you see the effect cascading, like one domino hit the other and it keeps going. It's like that with the disasters in SimCity. It's like just a small fire and then it's just spreads and then the whole city is in ruin. Like in real life, that would be horrible, but since it's a fake city, that's pretty fun to watch.
Yeah.
I also played a lot of Harry Potter games on the PC.
Sure you did.
Of course, I'm a big Harry Potter fan, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And those are really fun, those early Harry Potter games for the PC. because you can explore Hogwarts and there's a lot of hidden secrets and stuff. If anyone who's a fan of Harry Potter hasn't been exposed to those early PC Harry Potter games, I'd give it a shot. It's pretty fun to walk around and try to find secrets using your magic to unlock hidden passages and
so
stuff.
So that's still fun?
Well, I haven't played them in ages, but I watched a Let's Play not long ago just to check it out to see if I remembered it correctly, and it looked kind of fun.
Was that the one you showed me? Because I thought it looked boring.
Yeah, maybe. This could be completely nostalgia.
I don't know.
I remember that was a mechanic in it where you had to trace with your cursor, you had to trace along a spell.
Oh god, yes. That was the same mechanic that was in that Pokemon Go-like Harry Potter game, where they showed you like a shape of a spell or...
And then you had to trace
And then you had to trace it with your finger instead on the screen.
Yeah, and I bet it was really much easier with your finger than with a mouse cursor.
Yeah, probably, but you know, the little I played that game, I was walking real fast on my way to work, and then suddenly I had to perform a spell, so it wasn't always so easy.
Yeah, I bet. But yeah, with the old game, I bet my computer mouse wasn't really that fine-tuned even, so you would move it and it would stutter like a little bit.
Yes.
And it would like destroy your little drawing of the spell, and you had to be like just inside the lines of the spell to be successful. With a few of those, at least when I was a kid, I had a huge trouble with them. I was getting really angry. That's an annoying part of those games, but I had a lot of fun with those when I was a kid. One of my favorite games for the PC when I was a kid was The Longest Journey.
Oh, yeah. You talked a lot about those.
Yeah, it's a point-and-click adventure game produced by a Norwegian studio, Funcom. Mm-hmm. And really, the story in it is what I love about it. Because it's a science fiction and fantasy story where the main character is a woman called April Ryan from New York in the future.
The distant future, the year 2000.
Yeah, and the humans are dead. No, it's not like that Flight of the Conchords song. It's kind of more like a cyberpunk future.
Okay.
And she's an art student, I think. And she starts having weird fantasy dreams. And it turns out she's actually, I think, something called a shifter or something. I can't quite remember, but I think that's what they call her. And what that means is she can shift between worlds. She can travel between dimensions. Specifically between the world of Stark, her and our world, only that it's in the future, and the world of Arcadia, which is a fantasy world. She just
shifts just like that, or is there a portal or something?
I think she has to open a portal, but I think since she's new at it, she can't do it at any point. I can't quite remember. It's been some years since I played it the last time.
Okay.
I have played it several times, but it's just been some years between the last time now. But yeah, she figures out that it's not just one world. There's two worlds, and her world is a world of technology. And then there is the other world, which is a world of magic. And then there's forces in both of these worlds that are evil and try to take power by using the knowledge of the other world. It's like a very cool interlocking story where there's stuff happening in the fantasy world that is affecting stuff in the science fiction world, and it's a great game and a great story.
Yeah, that's considered to be a good game as well.
I think it's considered to be a classic. It's not like one of those games that everybody knows about, but it's sort of like in certain circles, it's like a classic game, especially for people that really like point-and-click adventure games. That game is really fun and quite funny, actually, and it has a really great story. And yeah, I just love that game. I recommend it for anyone. Also, its sequel, Dreamfall, The Longest Journey, that is also quite good and it has a great story. The gameplay is not quite as good because it's a 3D environment instead of a point-and-click game where you just see it from one angle. You control a 3D character and you control the camera around her and stuff. And for an adventure game like that, it's better with the point-and-click function.
It's made by the same people?
Yeah, but I tried to update it for the modern year of 2006, I think. At that point in time, like in the early 2000s, game developers didn't think that you could make games like you did in the 90s with the same type of graphics. And so everybody moved to 3D and tried to make everything look really realistic. And as a result, kind of the first game looks better than the game that tried to look realistic. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's still good and continues the story. And it's on a cliffhanger that it didn't get resolved until a few years ago. But that last game in the series that didn't come out until after we met. So I won't be talking about it right now.
You've played it?
Yeah.
Have I heard about it? What's it called?
Well, it's I think it was called Dreamfall Chapters.
Oh, yeah.
So
sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was in an episodic format. And it was fun to visit that world again, but I don't think it was quite as good as The Longest Journey or Dreamfall, The Longest Journey.
Maybe just good to wrap up the story.
Yeah, pretty much. And it was like a little bit disappointing after so many years of waiting. It didn't quite live up to my expectations.
That's a shame.
Yeah, well, what you gonna do? Then later, I got the PlayStation 2. Mm-hmm. There's quite a lot of games that I played on that, but I'm just going to touch on the ones that I really loved. The Kingdom Hearts series. Kingdom Hearts is a game that mixes Disney movies with Final Fantasy games. So you have a lot of characters from Disney movies, like Donald Duck, Goofy, Mickey Mouse, and Beauty and the Beast, and like a lot of stuff. And then they mix it with the Japanese video game series Final Fantasy, which has a lot of anime kind of spiky-haired teenagers with big swords and stuff like that. And then you have, Donald Duck talking with a teenager with spiky hair and a giant sword, and then they fight together, and there's monsters, and yeah, it's really just a trip. So
very strange combination.
Yeah, that's a very strange combination. But yeah, that whole series is really strange and really fun. And I loved the first game a lot and played it over and over again and just had a lot of fun with it. Two other games that I loved a lot on the PlayStation 2 was adaptations of the Lord of the Rings movies. Like Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, and Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. And that was like a kind of beat 'em up or a slash 'em up where you controlled Aragorn and several different other characters from the movies and books, of course, but these were specifically modeled after the movies. And you just got to slash through a bunch of orcs and trolls and stuff. And
so they were just like the battle scenes in the movies?
Yeah, pretty much like all the battle scenes in the movies. And the cutscenes in the games were just scenes cut right out of the movie. And yeah, the game would grade you on kills or combinations. It's a long time since I played these two games. But yeah, I think you would get like good and excellent and stuff like that. And then at the end of the level, you had a complete score of that level. And yeah, it was really fun. And I kind of hope they will make an HD port for PlayStation 4 or something, because I kind of miss playing those games. And I think I would like to play them with you, since you are also a fan of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, but that's not how I would picture a Lord of the Rings game at all. I would more think it would be like that you are Frodo and you're gonna go on that journey with the ring and you encounter enemies on the way.
Yeah, sure, that would also be fun, but
that's how I would imagine it would be.
Yeah, well, this was kind of like a really arcadey game. It was not meant to be an adaptation of the books.
No, sure.
It was meant to like just be a way for you to experience the battle scenes in the movies based on the books. And I think that these games did a great job with portraying those. I had a lot of fun when I played it as a kid.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, my parents were divorced when I was a kid, and when me and my sister would visit my dad every other weekend, we would often play on his Xbox.
What kind of games did he have?
Well, the most important one was Halo Combat Evolved, which is the first Halo game.
Oh, and you play that a lot?
Yeah, we played that a lot together, and
every weekend at least? No, every second weekend?
Yeah, I think like for a period there, we played it every time we were visiting him, and like in summer holidays when we were visiting him for longer periods. And Halo is a first-person shooter series where you play as Master Chief and you battle a horde of different kinds of aliens.
Yeah, that's like the most well-known one, isn't it? Halo.
A well-known Xbox game.
Oh, I just thought first-person shooter in general. I just get the impression that everyone has heard about Halo, but I'm not sure.
It's pretty well-known. I don't know if it's the most well-known. But yeah, it's a really fun game, and we used to play it a lot just through the campaign on 2-player split screen on the story mode of Halo. Me and my sister, or me and my father, or my father and my sister, like, we all played it.
Your sister is a bit of a gamer, right?
I think she used to be more of a gamer. She played a lot of Destiny, which is made by the same company that made Halo.
Oh.
My dad didn't have his Xbox connected to the internet, so we couldn't play the multiplayer against other people. With Halo 1 and Halo 2, we only played the campaign together. So it wasn't until I got Halo 3 for the 360 later when I got really into playing a first-person shooter against other people. That's my first experience with that.
But were you playing both your father and your sister at the same time?
Yeah, we were playing together.
So there were 3-player games?
No, it was just 2-player, but we were playing together against the aliens.
Okay, but 2 at a time?
Yeah, I think that was all that was allowed.
Okay.
He also had a snowboarding game called SSX3.
Okay.
And that's really, really fun because all the levels were connected. Like you could start at the top of the mountain and snowboard all the way down at the bottom of the mountain. Everything was connected. So it was like an open world snowboarding game, kind of.
Okay. And you were doing tricks?
Yeah, doing tricks, and there was races that you could join as you were going down the mountain. You could join races, and yeah, it was really fun, and you could unlock different outfits for different characters you were controlling.
Yeah, you don't really like sport games either.
No, so the fact that I like this one really shows you how good that game is.
Yeah.
And speaking of types of games that I don't normally like, he also had Midtown Madness 3, which is a racing game.
Okay.
I normally don't care much for racing games.
Me neither.
But Midtown Madness 3 was quite fun. It's set in Paris and in Washington, D.C.
So it's cars?
Yeah, it's cars, and it's also a open world. You can just drive, you can't go out of the car. But then you drive around in the city, and you find specific missions. And some are like cops and robbers, you have to get away from the police. And some are you have to deliver something in a given amount of time. And it's just a lot of really inventive missions.
It's not like GTA, is it?
No, GTA is much more on like violence and crashing cars. And I wouldn't say it's much like GTA now. But yeah, since I became such a fan of Halo from playing it on my father's Xbox, when the Xbox 360 was released later with Halo 3 for that console, I had to buy the Xbox 360 for myself so that I could play Halo 3.
You bought it just because of that game?
Yeah, that's the main reason why I bought the 360. But of course I got a lot of use for it later. I think that's the console that I have had the most games for.
Okay.
Also because that was in a time of my life where I had the most time for playing video games. But also because there's just so many good games that came out on that console.
I remember you had a big box when I met you that you gave away.
Yeah, with games that I had finished already, and I had so many games, and I had so many new games that I wanted to play that I knew that I didn't want to spend time on stuff that I already had completed, unless it was some of my like favorite ones. But yeah, some of the games that I liked the most for the 360 were Halo releases, but we've talked a little bit about those already. But the other series that I really enjoyed on the Xbox 360 were the 3D Fallout games. Fallout 3 was my first introduction into the Fallout franchise. The first two Fallout games, I think, came out in the 90s and were completely different from Fallout 3, which was a first-person shooter, kind of. And the Fallout series is in a post-apocalyptic setting, which you really like, right?
Yeah.
Post-apocalyptic movies and stuff.
Yeah, I've enjoyed a lot of them.
Like, you really like the Mad Max movies, right?
Especially the last one.
Yeah, Fury Road.
I'm not very fond of Thunderdome.
That's probably the worst one in the series. But the second one, I think, is...
I've only seen them once, so...
Yeah, me too, but...
But there are many good post-apocalyptic movies and...
But Mad Max is one of the biggest inspirations for the Fallout franchise.
Okay.
Specifically the second Mad Max movie.
Oh, cool.
The game that I liked even more than Fallout 3 was Fallout New Vegas, because that has a much better story and there's a lot more options with what to do with your characters and the choices you can make. It's a better role-playing game, basically.
Is it a big open world?
Yeah, both those games are big open worlds that you can traverse. They are played as a first-person shooter, basically. Mm-hmm. And you can travel all across a big nuclear wasteland with a lot of different areas with different things happening in them and a lot of strange mutated animals and scavengers roaming the wasteland, searching for valuables and food and stuff. So yeah, it's a pretty cool setting. You remember when we were in Washington, D.C. together?
Sure. 2014, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And when we were walking around there, I could actually navigate some parts of that city. We were on a tour, so we didn't get to walk around that much, but I knew where to see specific things because of Fallout 3, because that game is set in Washington, D.C. And it's kind of a shrunken version of Washington, D.C., but everything is in the correct location in relation to each other.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that when we were walking around.
Yeah, it's a kind of the same thing as with when we were in New York. That was the same trip. We just had a day tour to Washington from New York. Well, there's so many games and movies set in New York, so I could kind of navigate based on my pop culture knowledge. But specifically, Grand Theft Auto 4 is the game where I spent the most amount of time in Liberty City, as it's called in GTA. But that's basically actually just New York.
Yeah, luckily, because I have very little sense of direction, so I was pretty lost in New York.
Yeah, I think my sense of direction has actually improved by the fact that I am a lifelong gamer. I think my sense of direction is much improved by the fact that I have navigated so many spaces.
Yeah, that's possible. But I also think that I'm kind of lazy when it comes to directions. So if I'm somewhere with someone who has a general idea of the directions, then I just zone out and trust completely in that person.
Has that burned you sometimes?
Yeah, I used to have a friend who was very cocky and said that she had really good sense of direction. So I just left everything up to her. And then we always got lost and she got really angry because, you know, she wasn't as good as she thought she was. And I had no clue because I just trusted in her.
Yeah, that sounds like a problem.
Yeah. We got lost on multiple locations, and then she finally said that maybe her sense of direction wasn't all that after all.
A few other games that I really liked on the Xbox 360 is the Orange Box from Valve. That's a box they released which included Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2 Episode 1, Half-Life 2 Episode 2, Portal, and Team Fortress 2.
Why an orange box?
I'm not completely sure, but I have seen behind the scenes of how Valve makes their games. Mm-hmm. They used to start making their levels without any artwork. Like they just make the geometry and make sure that the level is fun to play. Like they make sure it's fun to play before they put in the art assets to make sure that it looks like what it's supposed to look like.
So it was like a blueprint?
Yeah, they use a blueprint, but their blueprint is orange. Like they make their levels with a bunch of orange boxes. Oh. And I think that is what the orange box is based on. I could be wrong.
Okay, it's just a reference to that. You don't get the orange box version of the game.
No.
Okay.
So I think that they're just referencing how they make their games.
So this was like a collection of older games?
Yeah, not that old.
But it was like a compilation?
No, it was pretty much 3 new games and 2 a little bit older games. They had already released Half-Life 2 and Half-Life 2 Episode 1. And then when they released Half-Life 2 Episode 2, they did so in that box. So Half-Life 2 Episode 2 was completely new. Portal was also completely new, but that's a shorter game, the first Portal game. Mm. And Team Fortress 2 was also completely new when they released it on the orange box. But Team Fortress 2 is a completely multiplayer game. It's a first-person shooter team game. And I think it's pretty much like capture the flag type of game, as far as I remember. Like both teams have one base.
Like paintball? Yeah,
I think you have capture the flag type games with paintball as well. And you have it in the Halo games.
Yeah.
Multiplayer. A lot of online shooters have that. But both teams have one base and they both have an object that the other people try to steal and bring back to their own base.
I see.
I'm not quite sure if maybe in Team Fortress it's like one-sided, that it's like just one team is trying to protect their flag and then it switches on the other round. I think maybe that. In Halo, it's going on at the same time. It's just both teams are both attacking and defending. But I think maybe in Team Fortress there's one defending team and one attacking team and it switches.
Okay.
I could be wrong. It's been a long time since I played it. But yeah, so that orange box, it was 3 completely new games and 2 great games that had already been released.
So if you were just interested in one of the new games, you had to buy an entire box set?
Yeah, I think so at the time. I think a lot of people bought it entirely for Team Fortress. Because the first Team Fortress had a big fan base. And then, of course, Half-Life had a big fan base. But Portal was a completely new thing that nobody knew anything about. But it exploded. Portal was such an interesting new concept. And it's a first-person shooter as well, but there's no violence. Mm-hmm. It's a puzzle game. And the gameplay is based around this weapon you have in the game, which can shoot out portals. And one button shoots out a blue portal, and the other button shoots out an orange portal. And you can go through the blue portal and come out of the orange portal, or you can go through the orange portal and come out the blue portal. And you can stick a portal on the ceiling and one in the floor and fall through it. And if you have it directly above each other, you can just continually just fall forever through the portals, and you can throw one portal at the wall a long way in the distance, so you can just transport over there. And I could talk about Portal forever to explain it, but I'm just going to link a video down in the show notes to show you guys, and that's going to be much easier. If you haven't seen Portal before, give it a look because it's pretty cool.
And very unique.
Yeah, it's very unique. I gifted you Portal 2 when we first got together, right? Mm-hmm. So you have played a little bit of Portal.
Yeah, I thought I played a lot, but I don't know how much was left.
Yeah,
I got stuck and I forgot about it.
Yeah, maybe at some point we can go back to it and I can show you how you got stuck.
Yeah, it's 3D thinking.
You're not good at 3D thinking?
I did okay, but it's not my strongest suit.
Yeah, because as we talked about with your childhood games, a lot of them are 2D.
Yeah, and also I guess it has something to do with sense of direction too. Mm-hmm. So maybe they are linked.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, and it's so weird because maybe it's just the way our minds work. Maybe just our brains are slightly different, that I'm more suited to that kind of thinking and you're more suited to another kind of thinking.
Well, stereotypically, women aren't very good at 3D thinking, and it's a stereotype, so I'm not trying to offend anyone. But maybe also that you are being told from your child that
you're not supposed to be good at this type of thing.
Yeah, then maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way.
Yeah, because you're going into it and thinking, well, I'm not good at this, and then
you just shut your brain off.
Yeah. totally see that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But the main selling point of the orange box was Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and Half-Life 2 Episode 2. Half-Life is a first-person shooter series, which is very story-heavy. The story in that is very cool, and it's the main reason I like those games. It has really fun gameplay, of course, because Valve is great at developing fun games. But yeah, the story in Half-Life is really interesting and fun. It's like a dystopic future where an alien race has invaded Earth and has taken over, and everybody is living under their rule and humanity is oppressed. Valve is really good at environmental storytelling, which means they don't specifically tell you everything, and you sort of have to work stuff out based on how the world looks around you. Like, for example, there's one portion of the game which looks like an open desert, but there's a lot of ships and lighthouses around and stuff. Far in the distance, you can see the ocean. And you can basically figure out that the aliens have been draining the Earth's ocean and bringing the water to their own planet or their own dimension. So yeah, there's cool stuff like that you can just work out by looking around you.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, I think you would like it. You like dystopic science fiction.
Yeah, I thought this was a military game.
No, not really. You actually play as a scientist. Yeah, so in the first Half-Life game, which I haven't played, that is the event that causes the alien invasion. Like, you play in Area 51 type of place. You're one of the scientists there, and you're doing an experiment with portals. Again, portals. And you open a portal to another dimension, and different kinds of alien races starts flooding into the research base. Then you have to fight your way out with a crowbar and later weapons you find on the corpses of the military that is coming in, and the military is coming in and starts killing all the aliens, but also the research personnel, because it's like a cover-up. So yeah, it's kind of fun like that. And then in Half-Life 2, you suddenly just skip several years into the future, and the
humans are dead.
Again, not like that Flight of the Conchords song, but actually, yeah, a lot of the humans are dead. But humanity is still alive, but they are being oppressed and used by the Combine, which is the name of the alien coalition that is controlling Earth now. And then there's also a powerful being called the G-Man, which looks like a Man in Black type person, like cigarette smoking man from X-Files, that kind of dude. And if you pay attention, you can see him around the levels, and he's always watching you. Normally you will not spot him, but he's like an Easter egg. But he is actually in control of the whole situation. He's not on the team of anyone. He's not one of the Combines.
He is his own team.
Yeah, and he's using the main character you're controlling, which is named Gordon Freeman, which is silent because you're supposed to inhabit that role, so he doesn't have a voice. But yeah, he's using Gordon Freeman and controlling his actions, sort of. So you're kind of like an agent for the G-Man. And I'm going to put in a little bit of audio because the actor who voices him does it in a really cool and creepy way, and it's just like one of the coolest voices in a video game I've heard, and it's just kind of cool to listen to.
There was a time they cared nothing for Miss Vance, when their only experience of humanity was a crowbar coming at them down a steel corridor. When I plucked her from Black Mesa, I acted in the face of objections that she was a mere child and of no practical use to anyone. I have learned to ignore such naysayers when quelling them was out of the question.
Half-Life 2 Episode 2, which was released on that orange box, ended on a cliffhanger, and I've been wanting a new Half-Life game for years now. And this year, they finally released a new Half-Life game. which was good, but it was an exclusive VR experience, which is bad because I don't have the money to buy good VR glasses, and I wouldn't have the time now with the baby to just strap myself into another world and just not have my complete senses about me. So yeah, that's kind of annoying that the first Half-Life game in ages was a VR exclusive, but I hope that means that they are back on track and are releasing new normal Half-Life games soon enough.
Yeah, let's hope so. But you have enough games in your back catalog for years to come.
Yeah, it feels like that, but I feel I'm closing into the end of it now.
Okay.
Like, my gaming backlog also includes games we have together. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty close now to having weeded out all of the games that I have just for myself. So now most of my backlog is just the games we have together.
Okay.
Speaking of Valve, some other games I liked on the Xbox 360 made by them were the Left 4 Dead games, which were zombie games.
Were these fast or slow zombies?
Fast zombies. In movies, I prefer slow zombies. How about you?
Well, it's scarier when they are fast.
Well, I guess so, but most of the good zombie movies are really about people against other people, and the zombies are just an underlying threat that are causing people to act dangerously towards each other.
Yeah, that's true.
And I like that kind of zombie story better than when the zombies are these super-powered, fast creatures.
Yeah, I kind of agree that zombies should be slow as they are rotting away. It doesn't make sense that they are very fit.
Yeah, in a lot of fast zombie stories, they are actually just called infected instead, so it's kind of like a rabies.
Yeah, like 28 Days Later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's a great movie.
Yeah, so I like those kinds of movies when they don't call them zombies. And I'm not completely sure if they do call them zombies in Left 4 Dead, because in Left 4 Dead, they are more like infected. But there are also zombies that have special abilities, like there's a really big fat zombie that can explode, I think. Mm-hmm. And there's another zombie called the Hunter, I think, and that can pounce on you and keep you down and scratches you. Left 4 Dead is a cooperative experience. You can have 4 players, and there are always 4 characters. Even if there's just 1 player, there are 3 computer-based characters to help you out. And if there are 2 players, there's 2 computer-based characters to help you out, and so on. But it's meant to be played with 4 people. And you're helping each other out against insurmountable odds. So it's like if there was just 1 character in this game, it would pretty much be impossible to finish because the zombies would just overrun you, and there's several zombies that are designed to pin you down so that the other players have to help you out.
But if you get bitten once, then you're dead, or you get zombified?
No, it's not like that. I think the main characters in this are immune.
They have a vaccine?
No, they're just immune, but they can be killed by the zombies.
Okay.
And yeah, so in those games, you have to travel from one area to another in a group, and there's zombies coming at you all the time, and you can find different weapons, and you're helping each other out, and if you fall down on the ground, you can help each other up. And yeah, I think we need to play that together at some point. It's really fun.
Okay, I'm game.
Yeah, so I think we've talked enough about my old gaming favorites. We were going to talk about Metropolis, but as I mentioned in the start of the episode, we just didn't have time.
Let's marinate it for another week or so.
So that means that if some of you didn't have a chance to see Metropolis yet, you now have at least another week or 2.
I think you can watch it for free on YouTube as it's public domain. Maybe not the restored version, but in some form.
Yeah, and you should really try to watch the movie. We're going to get more into it in the next episode, but it's really very good. Give it a watch. It's worth seeing.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye, everyone.